I'm good to go.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. I'm Roman Loyola. Joining us on the remote is Jason Cross.
Hello.
In the studio with Leif Johnson.
Hiya.
The most important man in the room, Dan Masaoka.
Hello, hello.
He's our producer. He's the most important man in the room because he's checking our Twitter and YouTube feeds for your comments or questions. So if you have any thoughts on today's topic, let us know, and Dan will chime in with what you guys are thinking about. Today, we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about the Apple event that's happening next Wednesday on September 12th. So invites went out last Thursday to the media and I guess special guests for an event at Apple Steve Jobs Theater at the Apple Park in Cupertino. It'll happen at 10 a.m. Pacific time on September 12th. Apple will live stream the event on its website. There's a link on our homepage if you guys want to check it out. If you have an opportunity to watch it, but you might be at work, so maybe not. Yeah. But if you do have an opportunity, you can watch it. But today I thought we would talk about what we think is going to happen, or kind of like accumulation of what has been discussed and rumored so far, and what we think is real, what we think won't happen, just our general thoughts of next week's event.
Well, right off the bat, Akatsuki is asking, how much will the new iPhones be? Over 1,000? Will they start over 1,000?
What's the over-under?
Yeah.
Before we get into that, a quick question on the streaming. I don't know if you've heard anything about this. There was some talk about how Apple's going to stream it on Twitter this time.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard any more about that?
I have not heard anything about that. I personally don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen. They do that.
So
that would be a new thing. Yeah. Typically, it's only on their site. It's only with Safari.
Right.
Or Microsoft Edge.
Right. They have done Edge in the past.
I thought it worked on Firefox.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Unless Firefox changed something recently.
Yeah.
It's about the streaming technology they use, and it's supported in Edge.
Yeah.
So if you're on Windows, you can only watch on Edge, and Apple TV and the Apple Channel, that stuff.
Right.
And the other quick note is that because that happens Wednesday at 10, our podcast is going to be a day later next.
That's right.
Say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. The most important thing is that our podcast will be following a day later. We'll be on Thursday next week at 10 a.m. So with a follow-up to the event. So iPhones, that's the first thing I thought we could talk about.
That's the first thing that everyone
wants to talk about that.
Even I want to know it.
So over under, I'm going to say the top end. Yeah, I think the top end iPhone's going to be. Well, here's the thing. So
last year was already over.
The rumor is that there will be 3 new iPhones, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So
and you think give me a guess on how accurate that is.
It seems pretty accurate.
I think it's pretty. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's been the most persistent rumor. Mm-hmm. How about that?
I think it's pretty accurate at this point. We've got case makers planning on it and stuff like that.
It makes sense with the LCD versus the OLED screens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there was the 9 to 5 Mac. They found a leak of an image, and the image has 2 iPhones resting on top of each other. There wasn't a third phone, but you can guess that those 2 phones OLEDs were the high-end phones. Right. So the guess is that there's going to be 3 new models. I guess what is being called the iPhone XS.
10S.
10S.
They're going to call it the XS.
See?
They better not go with that. Right. I will be so angry if they call it the XS.
So be prepared to be angry because, 9 to 5's leak, which was like an official Apple image that they apparently uncovered, they're sure that it's called the 10S, the XS.
Samsung is going to have a field day with that.
I guess it's the file name or something, but you're left with iPhone XS or iPhone XS. It's not good either way.
So, and that's the
That's the OLED model.
That's the OLED model that is a 5.8-inch phone. Now,
And a 6.5.
And a 6.5, also an OLED, the Plus model. Now, did I don't remember, did 9 to 5 say that it was going to be 10S Plus?
They didn't. They said they specifically don't know whether they'll go with the Plus name or not.
So the Plus model will be the more expensive model. I'm guessing I'm going to put the over under at $1,300
for the starting price, like the low end, for the entry level of that, not like the high end upgraded Max.
Right.
1,100.
What was the entry? What was
$999.
Well, what's the 8 Plus at right now?
Okay.
So what's the 8 Plus at right now?
I'll look it up.
Here's where I think they're going. I think that the large OLED model, the expensive ones are OLED and have the stainless steel band, and they have dual cameras. That's the upgrade, and I think that's still going to start at $999, but it'll be for the big one.
I think so.
Plus starts at 800. 8 plus.
And then the 5.8, the size of the iPhone 10 today, will get a little cheaper by comparison. It'll be $900. It'll be $899.
Yeah.
And then the starting prices,
the models that you want, the ones with enough storage.
Well, 128 is the start. It's 128, 256, and they're saying maybe 512 as a third option. Yeah. So 128's a lot.
That's
I think
a lot.
That people
that's good. Yeah.
would be all right with that. And then the
third phone,
LCD phone, the mid-sized, less expensive one camera phone, I'm going to say is probably going to be 700. And the question is that going to be 64 gig? Probably not 128. I don't think that it's going to be as expensive.
And you think it's going to have the new processor?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it'll have the new processor. I think it won't start with as much storage. And of course it'll be LCD and one camera.
Yeah. That's a 6.1-inch LCD that's been bandied about.
Yeah.
So.
And the rumor is that it'll be announced next week, but it's going to ship a little bit later than the OLED models.
Makes sense.
Just because of the manufacturing capacity. But that is expected to be the hot seller. And I could see why. If it's the style of the iPhone 10, the sort of, no bezel notch, it's going to have Face ID, it'll have wireless charging, it'll still have the A12. If it's that, but it's cheaper just because the screen's not quite as good.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple's LCDs are really
nice.
good.
Yeah.
So I think they're right. I think a lot of people, just because of the price difference, will pay $700 or $750 instead of $900 or $1,000. It might be $750. It might be $800. But
yeah, I think there's going to be a large segment of the customer base that looks at this difference in the screen, the LCD and the OLED, and go, I don't see a difference. I mean, we'll see a difference.
Yeah.
But
then it'll come down to the camera. Do I need that dual camera thing and stuff? And maybe a lot of people don't. Not for that much money.
Yes.
Yeah. So considering that, like whenever I go to work, I like to see what phones people are using, and because I live in San Francisco, there are a lot of iPhones. But I do notice a lot of older iPhones.
That's true. I noticed that I look on the train myself every day.
Yeah. So people are okay with making certain sacrifices in terms of the hardware, and they're going to wait until, I guess they feel like their hardware needs to be updated instead of out of desire, more out of
the last couple of years. The pundits, the analysts have been talking about this super upgrade cycle.
Yeah,
this is going to be the year, and then if iPhones come out and they go, like, this wasn't the year, But there's good reason to believe that if they give people the sort of iPhone 10 style and experience at several $100 less than the iPhone 10 came out as. And there's a lot of people hanging on to older phones. My dad is just texted me the other day going like, I am constantly out of storage because he has a 16 gig phone. He can't even update his OS. There's nothing left to delete.
Yeah.
That's why
he has a lot of music that's not available on Apple Music that he ripped, and it's stored on his phone and stuff. And he's like, when does the new phone come out? I just need more storage. Like,
Yeah.
he might not even buy the new phone. He just knows the old phones get cheaper.
Right.
He might get
Right.
an 8 or an 8 Plus.
Yeah.
What
So-
phone is 64 or 16 gigs? Because I don't even keep 16 gigs USB sticks when I get them.
That's an
yeah, he's-
old phone.
It'd be like the
He's got a
6s.
6S,
Yeah.
I think.
Really?
He's got a Plus. He has a Plus, I think.
I was gonna say that was like a 5 or something.
No, I think it was
No.
a 6, and that was just kind of controversial at the time that they were still releasing them with that little storage. Yeah.
Yeah, at the start was that little, but he loves the Plus model
Yeah.
because he's retiree. His vision's not awesome, and he can read it easily. So
Yeah.
I have a hard time going back because I use a Plus. I have a hard time going back to a smaller one after this. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of older phones, so Apple currently has the 6S, the SE, the iPhone 7, the iPhone 8. And I would imagine that the 6S is going to be deprecated.
Along with the SE, right?
Makes sense. Especially with the battery problems, am I right? No.
I mean, I don't think the SE is going to go away until they replace it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I
part
agree
of
with
it,
Jason there.
it's a big India play. It's made in India. I
Right.
think that's partly to get around Indian laws and stuff. Smaller phones are more popular there than larger phones, and the pricing of it getting a new phone there. So I think the SE is due for a refresh. Maybe not a total overhaul. Maybe just like sort of a processor upgrade kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't think that they would just sell something locally like that and just say, for everyone else, we're not even gonna put it on the market?
That might happen.
I've
They
seen
might
enough
actually
people here in
eventually
San Francisco. I had to take photos of somebody with an SE the other day. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, but they're not buying new ones,
It's true. Well, yeah.
right?
There
Yeah,
was a
I think-
rumor of a SE upgrade recently, I think, wasn't there?
Earlier
There was
this
a
year,
rumor.
then it
Yeah.
kind of never happened. Everyone thought maybe that's what the spring event would be
Right.
about. Then maybe we'd hear about it at WWDC, and it still never came.
Yeah.
So it's due for an upgrade. I don't think we're necessarily going to hear about that here at the September event.
No.
But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to scrap it. I think they'll stop kind of promoting it. It'll just be available if you know you want it. You go into an Apple store and ask for it.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Because it is specifically aimed at like lower cost people and everything. I don't think it's sexy enough basically for that September event. I worried, people will be interested in it, but I think it would take away from the rest of it. It's like, oh, and here's this really low cost thing. No, we want you guys to
Exactly.
spend money. Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
if they had said, okay, we are still making an iPod Touch, would you people be excited about that, or that's just what the SE is at this point?
I think they still make the iPod Touch. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
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 It's just
Yeah,
not,
you can still buy one.
Yeah.
Nobody really
Uh,
brings it up. Yeah.
No, I think the SE is at least in the West, it's people who really like small phones.
Yeah.
And everybody I talk to wishes they made a more modern one, like one with a more modern processor and everything, but it was still that small phone. And I don't know how much longer that's going to happen
Yeah.
because in all the places that there's new growth
Mhm.
in phones, big phones are popular, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Dan, you
it's-
used to be a small phone guy.
Yeah, I'm a small phone guy.
You still,
still are?
consider yourself a small phone guy?
No, so I used to have the 5S, and I really like the size. I think that's why I stopped upgrading for a long time.
Old school.
Yeah, and then the battery died. You remember that part, and I wasn't able to
Yeah.
fix it. So then I was like, all right, let me just see what Android has to offer. So I've been using Pixel 2 for the last year, but I think I'm probably going to come back to Apple with the new phone. I miss all the apps I had on it.
Yeah,
you
that's
know, I
really
think
fun.
that's like the biggest thing, honestly. Because at this point, phones are pretty similar.
Yeah.
But I miss the app ecosystem that Apple has.
You're
And that's
not,
one reason I can't ever go away is that. So.
you're not going to hold out for a foldable Android phone?
Oh, God.
Nah.
Lord.
I think the taller, narrower form factor of the 10s, especially the 5.8 inch,
Yeah.
what's an iPhone 10 today, doesn't feel as large as a quote 5.8 inch phone. I think
Sure.
that satisfies a lot of people who like smaller phones. It's still a problem for people with like really small hands and no pockets, like women who have no pockets because they don't make women's clothes with pockets. Like
But that's
that
never,
kind of issue.
yeah, that's never stopped anybody. You see, the
Oh, yeah.
pluses in the back pocket of so many ladies. So
You do.
it's just like, 1/3 of it is sticking in the pocket, and it just looks like it's about to fall out at any
Really.
given moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
The question is, do you think they're going to keep selling the 7?
That's what I was about to ask. What
Because
of the
this year was new. They kept 3 generations back
yeah.
of iPhones.
The 8 is so
instead of
similar. I
just
could
2.
see them dropping it. But,
Yeah. So are they going to keep selling the 7? Do they need at an even lower price the way that this year they kept the 6S, or are they going to go back to selling this year's phones and last year's phones only?
Well, will they? The other question that kind of goes along with that is, will they keep selling the iPhone 10?
I think no.
I don't think,
don't think so?
either. I don't think so either.
Because
yeah, it would just be crazy if it was the iPhone 10s.
yeah.
Those 3
But
new
why
models.
buy one?
One
Like-
iPhone 10.
Yeah, that's why buy one. That's the way.
Like
I
they'd
think,
they'd
yeah.
have to sell it for $800, which would be
Right.
cheaper than to be cheaper than the new upgraded 5.8 inch, right?
Yeah.
And then it would, at that price, it kind of cannibalizes the new 5.8 inch. Like people who don't really know a lot about the processor or anything, it would look the same
Right.
and everything, and they would just go like, why would I pay $100 more? So yeah, I don't see a world where they keep selling
Keep the 10.
the 10.
Yeah, I think they'll get rid of the 10 and the 7 because
Wow.
Apple also likes to simplify their product line.
Yeah. That's a lot of
And
product
the 8
lines.
is so similar too. It's kind of like what we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that the iPhone line is this complicated right now is kind of, I don't know what the thinking is behind it.
It's inelegant.
So,
Yeah, keeping those, I think because the new models went up in price again,
yeah.
they had to fill in that price stack and go all the way down and keep the 6S.
Right.
I think they're going to keep the 7 for that same reason. I think the new
Okay. I think
phones, I don't think the price stack goes down far enough. And I think iOS 12 emphasizes good performance on old phones so much that I think that they're going to,
That's true.
I think the 7's going to stick around. I think they're going to keep 3 generations of phones on the market.
Yeah.
But not the 6 for sure.
Not the 6S.
No, the 6
no.
is gone. So if you want,
the
really
regular
want a
6 is
6, go
already
buy it
gone.
now.
Well, the regular 6 is already gone, isn't it?
Yes,
I
the
think
6S.
so. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
the 6S. So, yeah, so we had a poll on Twitter. We asked, now that we've talked about the iPhones, we asked, besides iPhones,
See, I was going to say, you were saying that everybody wanted to know about the iPhone, but we really see that.
what new products are you most looking forward to at the event tomorrow? 27% said iPad Pros. A whopping 42% said Apple Watch Series 4. 19% said AirPods 2.
That's what I voted for.
And 12% said AirPower. And I think we kind of put AirPower. We wanted to. It was sort of an inside joke for us to put the AirPower.
Yeah,
in
But
there.
a lot of people picked it.
But people want it.
Yeah.
People kind of want
Because it was announced over a year ago. Is that right now?
Yeah.
Or almost
It
a
was
year ago?
at,
WWDC,
it was
yeah.
at the no, it was at the September event.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
September. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Because the new phones had wireless charging, so they brought that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
A
So
lot
it'll
of-
be a year
Yeah.
and it's not on the market, or we don't even know the price or anything. Like,
Yeah. Several people, a majority of the comments on our poll were saying that they want to see Mac Minis or new MacBooks or even the Mac Pro. And I think
You're not going to see the Mac Pro.
I don't think you. Yeah, if we do see a Mac at this event, that'll be a total surprise because usually Apple waits till later in the fall
Yeah.
to do another. They do another event, and that's usually a Mac focused event.
yeah,
So-
it's usually WWDC and then a separate fall event, not the iPhone event.
Yeah,
Correct.
where they do Macs. Sometimes they don't even do if it's a incremental update. Sometimes they won't even do an event. Like
Yeah,
they've done that in the past with iMac.
the store just gets updated and
right,
that's it. Yeah.
right, new
Hello,
processor and
yes,
stuff.
sir. Yeah.
But because there's been, there was a report by Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg about a new Mac Mini and new MacBooks. There probably is going to be another event later this fall.
Yeah.
So, if they do it at this event, it's going to be a jam-packed event.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
Yeah, it's already pretty full.
yeah.
So the top thing is Apple Watch, huh?
So Apple Watch, which I kind of was surprised to see to be
I'm
the
not at
number
all.
one.
I'm not. People love the Apple
I'm
Watch.
surprised.
42%. I thought it would be like 30%, but 42%, almost close to half. People want to see a new Apple
It's going to
Watch.
have to be really interesting to make it that interesting that I would consider like the high line of the thing. But you know,
Apple Watch is hot.
It is
and,
hot.
Yeah.
And this
And
is
I forgot mine at my
expected
desk.
to be a good update. Like every Apple Watch so far, they've been making the processor faster. They made the screen a little like brighter and stuff, but
Yeah.
they added else. But it hasn't looked different. It hasn't been something where you look at it and go like, "Oh, that's a Series 2."
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and this is that change. They're making the screen bigger. If all the
Right.
rumors are true, the screen's going to be bigger by pushing the bezels out to the edge so that the actual watch won't be bigger. And of course, it'll be faster. And of course, there's all this cool new stuff in WatchOS 5 and apparently new health sensors. So
Yes.
maybe a better heart rate sensor. Maybe they'll be able to do sleep tracking. Maybe they'll do. There's been rumors and patents and stuff about non-invasive blood glucose monitoring, which would be really, really cool. So
And also, since I accidentally left it at my desk, the battery might be better because I was charging it. Yes.
So I have a question on,
Yeah,
on the watch.
Yes.
So I feel like at this point, the people who have smartwatches are the people that will have smartwatches. And I don't know how many people are still like moving on to the whole smartwatch thing.
Someone in my World of Warcraft guild bought an Apple Watch yesterday. So there
For the
are
first time.
For the first time, yeah. So
it's that's a Bay Area.
that's
view,
she's from North
right?
Carolina. So
I-
that's
No, I'm sorry, not your
Yes,
guildmate. I'm
right.
talking about Dan.
But I also feel like people are starting to like stop wearing their watches. They're like, actually, I don't really
But
care for.
the way sales data is going is it's growing.
All right.
Right. It's what's happening is people are giving up on those dedicated sports bands
Like Fitbit.
that aren't really smartwatches, and they're instead going to smartwatches and mostly Apple Watch. So yeah, it's curious. Around here where I live, I see a whole lot of people with the Fitbit watch.
Yeah.
But
But I feel like
Apple Watch.
Fitbits are so much smaller that I think people don't mind it nearly as much. But I
I
feel
don't
like
mean the Fitbit band. I mean the watch that's basically the size of the Apple Watch, the whole large one. I forget what it's called. They have enough products. I can't remember all the names. But that's the one that I see the most of outside of the Apple Watch.
I know we often make fun of San Francisco that we have a kind of a skewed view here. Honestly, I don't really see that many Apple Watches here. I mean, when I do see people, they're either wearing, they're wearing real watches. But yeah, I do look. But I am surprised considering the interest in it. I don't actually think I see as many as you would think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I think I've said before, I'm not really a big watch person, and I wear an Apple Watch because I work here. So I guess that's why I'm kind of surprised at the poll results because Apple Watch Series 4. I'll get one because I have the original Apple Watch. It's been a few years. So
Oh, you have a Series 0, right?
yeah. So I
You
need to
can't even
update.
use WatchOS 5.
No, and
That's
if
an
I work
issue.
at Macworld, I should be able to probably use a device that works with the latest OS. So I need to. So I'm going to be buying a Series 4 watch. I'm
I
going
have
to be
a
spending a
Series
lot of
3.
money.
you're going to
on
be
this.
spending a lot of money.
Yes.
I hope you ask John for a raise.
So yeah, I'm going to be spending a lot of money this.
And just
next
as a
few
reminder,
months.
if you really want to know how much we admire this stuff and love it, that's gives you an idea of how we work here. So it's not. So
Yeah.
some of it comes out of our own. Yeah.
So the new watch is supposed to have a bigger screen, S4 system on a chip, better. Have they said it was a bigger battery or better battery?
I think it's
They
better.
just say better battery life,
Yeah.
which could be more battery capacity. It could just be chip efficiency, radio efficiency, like lots of
Yeah.
stuff goes into that.
Right. Just the basic improvement in technology.
Longer battery life, whatever that, however you get there. Yeah.
5 minutes.
A different shade of red on the what's it called? Dial?
Oh yeah,
yes,
so
the crown.
we were talking about
The
the
crown.
leaked images. The other image 9to5Mac got was supposedly the official one, an official image of the
the
watch.
Yeah.
The watch face.
And there was some interesting stuff there, like the crown and the button
Right.
on the side. The crown was kind of sunken in and flush a little bit more, and so was the button. They didn't stick out. So there was that rumor that they're not going to actually click in. They're not actually going to move. They're going to be like the haptic trackpads.
Right.
They'll just use haptic feedback as clicking.
Yeah.
So that makes me think maybe that's happening.
Yeah.
And there's a hole on that side between the dial, between the crown and the button, where on the current watches, all the holes for the mics and stuff are on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one hole on the other side, and I don't know what that is. Like
Mystery hole.
Right.
Yeah, is that did they move the mic? Or do they have a secondary mic over there, and they're going to do some noise cancellation stuff? Like who knows? But there's mystery hole.
Mystery hole will blow your mind.
Yeah.
So there was a comment earlier on Twitter saying leaked. These leaks are
You think they were
designed leaks is what the
designed
comment
leaks.
was. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Apple likes to show the presentation. I really think that we have this. That they really did screw up. Somebody actually leaked this. I think Apple loves to show too much. And the thing is, compared to other companies, people tune in for this. This is an event. They don't need to have these little fake events.
You're
People
so heated, Leif.
I believe it's true. Yeah, because the other things that is because we don't really think people are going to tune into an Apple event.
That's
they don't
true.
need to do that.
But maybe like without any of these, say for example, at least the watch leaks, maybe there wouldn't be this excitement. Like obviously everyone's going to be excited about the phone, but for some of the the devices after that.
What I thought of it was fishy was the way 9to5Mac said it. It was like, we are now allowed to do this and stuff. It was like they were just being polite because it was like, did somebody just give you that at Apple? Anyway, but I thought the language that they used was very interesting.
It seemed to me to be one of those things where it's like somebody left this live but unreferenced on the website kind of thing, and we found the image name the direct image name, that kind of thing. It was weird, but there's I don't think Apple has any need to drum up excitement with leaks.
No,
like you said, it's an event. People tune in. People will get excited about it when they do the event. They like to control the messaging. This gets it out there without them controlling the messaging. The only reason for them to leak false stuff wouldn't be this close. It would be like earlier on when they're trying to lead people astray with fake info.
right.
And this doesn't seem like that at all. All of this seems super plausible and very real. It looks very much like the rendering, the CG renders that Apple makes and stuff. Looks legit.
Aside from the watch face preview, it's actually kind of like boring and predictable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
it's not like it's sexy. Yeah,
it's an interesting watch face that's super busy and has all this information on it. But
I was actually thinking more conspiratorial, that Apple was trying to find somebody who they suspected was leaking information and kind of gave that responsibility to that said person, and it proved to be true.
I would love for that to happen.
You know what I mean? In other words, this was their way to find someone who was leaking stuff. That's what I was thinking. But
they'd have to have fake renders, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
that's what that hole was. That hole is just to say, there's a hole slightly up for different people. And then
that's the tip off of
the leaker
fake
hole.
Well, see, with it being, when I said it was boring, I was kind of hoping to be like intentionally misleading, and then they whip out like a round Apple Watch or something on the stage or something like, ha ha, look at those suckers. Yeah.
There is that the invitation is gather round. And everybody was like speculating what it is.
But it'll be funny if they do the presentation and they do show those images during the presentation.
Oh God!
Because that right now they're scrambling to take new photos of those products
or make new renders. They don't actually photograph that stuff, but
because they can't use those anymore if they are legit. So.
I think they look like they were made for the web. So it's like, right now they're tweaking the website.
Right.
It's like, oh, we got to change that.
So, did we ever
Make it-
determine what planet that is on?
He
On the
thinks it's a
image?
soap,
It's a soap.
bubble.
You
Yeah.
think it's a soap bubble?
I can send you a link.
I think
to
that's one of
a-
the more plausible ones. Yeah.
to a how to take pictures of soap bubbles like tutorial site. And when you see the examples there, you're like, you'll be 100% convinced. You're like, oh, that's absolutely a soap bubble. They look exactly like what that is.
Okay.
And Jason and I both agreed that, people were saying like Jupiter and stuff, but yeah, like you said, the gas giants have bands basically, and those were not bands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not.
Yeah.
It's no planet
Right.
in the solar system. You can look up any planet solar system. It's not even close.
I guess the marble when I first looked at it, but then I looked closer and I was like,
Could
nah.
be, yeah, but I think it's a soap bubble.
Yes.
Okay. So the second most popular product, is that the right word? Is it?
Yeah.
The
Poll wise.
poll
Anticipated.
wise was iPad Pros, and so there have been some speculation as to new. Is it? I don't want to say bezel-less, but extremely small bezels on the new
Yes.
iPad Pro.
Yeah,
It's going to be interesting.
So
iPhone 10 like.
yes,
How they incorporate Face ID is going to be the most interesting thing about the new iPad. In my opinion.
Yeah,
iPad Pro.
supposedly they're taking out the Touch ID
Uh-huh.
and same slim bezel all around. No notch. I mean, the bezel's big enough
Right.
to fit the cameras, but supposedly they're going to do Face ID. Face ID does not work sideways right now.
Mhm.
So are you going to have to hold your iPad portrait to unlock it and then turn it? I'd hate that so much. They need to
Yeah.
make Face ID work either direction because you use your iPad either direction all the time.
And with all the cases, especially the keyboard cases, I'm sorry, I would say get down to it. Most people use their iPad Pros in horizontal mode because, And so if you have with this keyboard case and you got to flip it over every single time, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and there's been like all these rumors of they put like a keyboard connector on the side, which would be the bottom in landscape mode, which makes sense, but the smart connector kind of on the back by the
right.
lightning port on the other side, so it's like they want it to be portrait. Like I can't figure out what's going on with these rumors. So there's a lot of interesting we don't know yet about the iPad. Is it iPads Pro or is it iPad Pros?
I always never know what to say.
I let
think it's
in
like
an article with Michael
iPads
one time I edited, I let it stand with the iPads Pro because I was like, technically it's accurate.
Sure, I think so.
Yes.
I think but there seems to be a lot we don't know about those yet.
Yeah.
They won't. I can tell you they won't be OLED. That's way too expensive
No.
for that
Right.
size. But they're supposed to be both a 11-inch, which is be like the 10.5-inch, but with smaller bezels, and still the 12.9.
12.9 inch. I was going to ask, since I don't use an iPad Pro regularly, does having a smaller bezel, does the bezel perform a function? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if you're drawing on it, it'll give you more room, make you feel like you have more room and stuff. But going back to the case, that's who it's mostly going to benefit. I think it's going to benefit artists and stuff. But most people have them in cases already where they got them, the bezels are already, part of that tough stuff that they have surrounding it. And I see so many people who have these in keyboard cases. They're basically using them as laptops. And so I think if it was to benefit anybody, yes, it would mainly artists. And so when you have a thinner bezel, you're running the risk of making those cases less protective too and stuff because you got less stuff around the edges. So
outside the room for the Touch ID sensor, the only real benefit of it is that when you're holding it, especially in landscape mode, it's room for your palms, right? It's room for your hands to grip it. Their palm rejection and stuff is pretty much good enough that I think that they'll be able to work that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I will say I used to use a case all the time with mine, but these days I, believe it or not, just use it caseless. I used to be terrified to do that, but I have a sleeve for it. But so that's not quite the same as a case. But yeah, I enjoy. You've seen me where I used Apple Pencil a lot. Yeah, it feels better to use it without a case. So that's when I say artists, people who use it like a legal pad. Yeah, that would be very nice.
And real quick, because Roro is asking about iCloud upgrade for 5 gigs. Do you think they're going to increase that? And I said, if Mike was here, he'd go on a rant. I was like, please represent Mike for that one.
Yeah.
It was just,
Yeah.
we're just saying it's like it's dead with the 16 gigabytes. You can't do anything with that 5 these days. And
It's
of course,
terrible.
when you have so
Yeah.
many, if you look at my, of course, it's work because I work at Macworld. At my, here's your connected devices and stuff. It's like 13, and you want to, back up all that to 5.
It's not even enough for one device backup.
Right.
It's
Yes.
like, yeah,
It's
it's
not
terrible. You can hold some photos kind of, or some notes or something, but it's not really enough for any significant. It's a terrible free tier. The free tier should be at least 10.
Do you think they're going to upgrade it? Do you think
I
they're going
don't.
to change that?
I don't think so either.
It's been needed for so long.
Yes.
Well, Apple did in the spring. They did the 200 gig program for students.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a promo going on right now where you can get 200 gigs free
if you're
with,
new,
with a couple of carriers with new, but it's just for a couple
Right.
months. Then
Yeah.
it just starts charging you $299
right,
or
So it's not
$199,
even a
whatever the
permanent-
200 gig is.
At least 50. I would like for it to be 100, but at least 50. It's like, come on, spread some goodwill. Apple
I think
Force
the way
for good.
they could get around this and maybe satisfy people and not be crazy is you'd have 5.
Mhm.
Make all iCloud tiers. Make your device backups not count.
Right,
toward your
Yes.
kind of
limit,
like how
right. So you can have 5, 50, 200, whatever you've got, and the free could still be 5, but your backup just doesn't count toward that.
right.
And then it's just your photos and music and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that compromise, but they're just doing a terrible job on that for their free tier. The paid tiers of iCloud are pretty competitive with
They are.
Yeah.
OneDrive and all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think
have to admit, I don't mind paying the fee. It's for Apple. It's very minimal.
I think Android though gives you free when you buy a new phone for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So like it would make sense if Apple is at least like, all right, you get 1 year with a new phone of this higher tiered storage, and then it's like so
Right.
kind of also
then it
encourages
makes you
you to
pay.
upgrade every
yeah,
year.
what Google does with its Pixel phones
Yeah.
is all the photos and videos you take don't count
Yeah.
towards your iPhone, your storage. It's just with Pixel phones, not all Android phones. But I can't see Apple doing that.
No.
That would be awesome, but I can't see them doing it.
That's too
I-
much goodwill.
I think Google just gives you free photo storage period as long as you let them compress it.
Yes.
That's regardless of what
Yeah, I
device
do
you're
that
on.
on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can just grab
Yeah.
Google Photos and
Yeah.
go to town.
Yeah, and that's getting into a whole other thing because I was like, that's what Google is a great services company. And I was like, I use a lot of their stuff on iPhone. But yeah.
I would love to hear about some great iCloud service improvements in the September event, but I don't see it happening.
It would be the time though, right? This would
Specifically?
be the event, right?
It would be the event because
This
it
would be
ties
the
into the
event to do
phone.
it, though.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to
So-
go on a tangent here. Yeah, that's one of the things that I don't like about Google starting to make its own phones and everything because I always thought that they're like let's unite the world with good services that pry into our privacy and stuff. But no, it's it's really good stuff and but since they're trying to differentiate their own hardware from it, I think everybody else suffers and to an extent, like you were talking about with other Android phones, that includes other people in the Android system too. But I think Google should stay as internet focused. But anyway, yeah, that's what's the hardware.
I don't think we have anything to worry about from Pixels until they start selling them at more than one carrier.
Right, that's
Yeah.
true.
Well, if Pixel 3s can be left in the car and nobody cares.
Oh yeah,
So,
somebody left one in a lift.
yeah. So
Yeah.
They're not out yet. Just for people who are not
Right.
clear,
People
They-
who aren't paying
they're not
attention
being
to
announced to
Google phones.
officially until October, and everything is leaked about them. And
Yeah.
someone left one in a lift, and yeah,
And nobody really gave a hoot. So,
Not like the iPhone that was left on the bar.
So-
Yes, yeah.
so also
What-
doing well in our. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something?
I was going to say, what else? What else is
I was gonna
we
say,
expect to have next?
Yeah, 19% of people are looking for AirPods 2.
And like I said, that was what I
So-
voted for. It's what I want to see.
Now, the rumor with the AirPods 2 was what? A new charging case that allowed for wireless charging?
Yes.
And was
Well, that's been announced.
Hmm.
So
Okay, right.
current AirPods, when they announced AirPower, it was very brief, but they'll say we're going to sell a new charging case that you can put on your AirPower and wirelessly charge your. So that hasn't shipped yet, because AirPower hasn't shipped, but
right.
Hmm.
that's been announced. AirPower 2, people assume, is going to have a new wireless chip and do some new stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows what that'll be?
The rumor was you can invoke Siri without
tapping
tapping it.
Right.
You'll just be able to say, "Hey Siri,"
Yeah.
as I shut off everybody's device.
And that would be
Listen to
nice
the
because when I
podcast.
first got them, I kept trying to do that, and I'm like, oh really? Oh, you got to tap it.
Yeah, because I can never remember. Do I tap my left ear or my right ear?
Yeah.
I've
And
changed my taps.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
can go in the Bluetooth menu and change what your taps are. So I've changed mine to like Next Track and stuff because I never use Siri on my AirPods.
Yeah.
See, I use it for call. Well, that's why I talk to my parents mainly. That's mainly what I use it for. Yeah, left is calls or is Siri, and right is playing Paul's music.
So you guys fully expect there to be a new AirPods?
That
I don't.
Don't know.
You don't think it'll happen on next week?
I don't. I think we would have. I think there would have been more
About it.
real leaks about it by now.
It would be
and
a
not
nice
just-
pairing with the iPhone because I think that's what most
Yeah.
people use it with. But
Yeah,
going
I
back,
agree.
I want to step up because I think some people were saying that they might get rid of the headphone jack on the new iPad Pros. I see, I don't really see people using like AirPods and stuff as much with a tablet. That, of course, could just be me. I think they'll still want to use, wireless, have the option to use wired ones. But where it's a lot more makes sense to use AirPods with an iPhone, but iPad, because it's a work device mainly as I see it. Yeah, it's getting a little bit.
I might get in trouble
Faster.
then, because my wife was like, "Oh, I want to buy an AirPods." I was like, "There might be AirPods 2 coming out, so you have to wait." And she's always like, "You prevent me from buying things too
Stopping
often."
that impulse
And she's
buy.
gonna be like, "You lied to me.
I
You're
mean,
supposed to
waiting
know."
A week to know
Yeah.
is worth it. But my take and sort of the later rumors are like, it's kind of going to be next year, so we'll see.
You're
But
seeing a lot of price drops all of a sudden on AirPods. I'll say that. Yeah.
I feel like with the AirPods, they announced it and it didn't come out for a while. Kind of like this. You
Right.
know,
There was the shortage.
Yeah. Was it just a shortage, or they also just didn't come out for a little bit?
I think it was a little bit of both.
I
Yeah.
think it took a little while for it to get going. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, they're going to fall out of my ears. And it turned out that they really didn't. So
Yeah, they announced it in, I think, the September event, and they said it's coming out before the holidays, and
Right.
it did, but it was
Barely.
But it was just not in enough volume.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
for at least 6 months, you just like as soon as stock was in, they were gone instantly.
Right.
I think Apple just way underestimated how popular they would be.
it made news when they were in stock on Amazon. Not like 'cause
Yeah.
there was a deal. It was just the fact that they were in stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's good. Now it's easy to get them. And I think, Leif, I think part of the reason maybe that you see kind of sales as though they're trying to get rid of stock is because the default is they're going to ship them with the wireless charging
Okay.
case, maybe. But I don't think the actual AirPods themselves are quite due for an upgrade. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to have new AirPods. It's one of my favorite Apple products. It's like really.
I would like my AirPods more if they fit my ears.
See, I don't have a problem.
I guess I have big ear canals, and
Yeah.
I always feel like they're about to fall out.
We had somebody, there was somebody that was getting me on Twitter, it was like talking about, no, they never fall out of my ears, man. That's what I was saying. Leia, remember I saw the video where she did the review and had her like head banging and stuff and didn't come out of her ears either. So I guess everybody's ears are different. But
Yeah, I think I need I don't know, the sleeves or stuff, but then you have to take them off so you can put them back in the case, and then they'll get all
It's not
stretched
that
out.
bad.
Yeah.
I used those silicone sleeves for a long time.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
cheap and they're really, you get so quick at putting them on.
Yeah.
It's still a hassle, though.
It's a hassle, but if you really feel like they're going to fall out all the time,
Yeah.
then.
I just
But
got
do you just
big
feel
ears.
that way and they don't fall out, or do they actually fall out?
I mostly use them when I'm walking my dog, and my dog is not the most obedient dog. So every once, like if a skateboarder will run by, he'll lunge at this, he wants to lunge at the skateboarder, and then it'll jerk me, and then sometimes it'll move out of place, or it hasn't completely fallen out, but it's gotten close.
Okay.
So yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
just have big ear holes, I guess.
Oh, another thing that I remember the same guy was berating me for. It was like I said, I sometimes forget that I have my AirPods in when the sound is not on, but I do, and then I kind of like that as a commuter because it allows enough sound in that you can function with them, but then you can just turn the music back on. Yesterday on the bus, I pulled my AirPods case out of there. It's like, where are they? Where are they? And then I realized, they're in my ears.
So
They do kind of disappear. It's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So with the new case, you should be able to use the AirPods 2 with the AirPower if it comes out next week. So this is one of those, it's the wireless charging pad that was touted to be able to charge 3 devices at once. Theoretically, those 3 devices would be your phone, your watch, and your AirPods. And that was revealed last year, and it still hasn't seen the light of day. So
That's crazy for Apple.
I think this is the time, though. I mean,
you think it'll happen?
They may not like spend much time on it on stage because they don't want to highlight the fact that it's been so long. It might be one of those things where, I mean, it exists on the Apple site. It may be one of those things where when they update the store with the phones, hey, presto, look what's on sale.
Yeah.
Look what you can buy now.
Right. It could be like they're talking about the phone and like it charges wirelessly with your new AirPower. And then they'll say it in passing, and then when they sum it up, AirPower is now for sale for da-da-da, available. And that's, they don't actually focus on it. It's more like said in passing.
Just kind of said in passing. I think that's what we can probably expect from it. I think it's going to be expensive too.
Yes, I do too. And too expensive.
200? Under 3.
The number 159 kind of feels right in my head for some reason.
I don't think it'll be over 2. I was joking with the 3.
So yeah, 159. How much can you get a decent wireless charger for nowadays?
Good wireless chargers are 50 to 60. Cheap ones are 30. This one's fancier. I mean, like you said, it does multiple devices at once. You don't have to like, there's not a spot like you put your watch here. You just put anything anywhere on the pad. And they're doing some new software communication thing where it tells you the charging rate. Like your phone will show on its display the charging rate of how charged your other devices on the pad are, which isn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But it, is that worth like $100 extra? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you put your stuff to charge every night, if you have 3 things you need to charge every night, maybe it is.
And how fast do you think it's going to be? Like wattage?
I don't expect necessarily that they're going to go past their 7.5 watts they do today. 10 at the outside. The Qi standard goes up to 15. Really, no devices reliably do 15. Even Samsung's quote fast wireless charging is 10. So,
do you think they'll make it so that's at least like, kind of backwards or future compatible, so that like, maybe if next year's models come, then it can support the, a slightly faster speed?
Yeah,
it's possible. Something like that.
Yeah, that's totally possible. That the AirPower itself will be able to charge it faster than today's iPhones are capable of.
Yeah,
that's totally possible. Yeah. There's some rumor about the charging coils being upgraded to copper instead of the amalgamation that's in current, which just lowers resistance and lowers heat a little bit. That might be a signal that they're going for a faster charging rate, because the higher the charging rate in wireless, the more the coils heat up. It's like it's a resistance thing. Maybe, but I think that's just more about, if they do that, that's just more about temperature control, just like trying to keep your phone from getting real hot when it's charging.
There were a couple things since from YouTube. What about the HomePod?
I was just about to say. So
was not on the poll.
It wasn't on the poll.
Can only do 4 on the poll. We didn't think y'all cared that much.
Do you think there's going to be a new HomePod, like a small HomePod or anything like that? Or
there's been a rumor of a small. I don't know. Is affordable the right word?
I agree with Jason.
Lower cost,
lower
cost HomePod. There
mini.
was a rumor of that. Mini HomePod.
Siri has to be a lot better for that to, be a thing on the HomePod.
Well, that's the thing. For Apple to come out with the new HomePod, they have to tout the new features, and the key feature that everyone wants to see about is Siri improvements.
Yeah,
and it doesn't seem like Apple's ready to tout that yet.
certainly a smaller, cheaper one wouldn't have as good a sound quality as
Right.
the current HomePod. So if that's your selling point now,
Right.
then what's the why
Why
do you want to? It doesn't sound as good, you know,
Right.
like that doesn't-
Or it sounds
The
as
whole
good as the
point.
HomePod, so why buy the HomePod when you get the Mini? It's just
They might bring up the current HomePod just because the iOS update for the HomePod, which
Right.
there's no beta for right now, right?
Right.
It's not public beta testing, but
Mm-hmm.
the people have found some keys in the HomePod setup in the iOS beta to show some new features are coming. Features people have wanted, like multiple timers, being able to set calendar appointments,
They call
a couple of things like that. Not that big a deal, but
Yeah.
they never brought it up at WWDC when they talked about iOS 12. So they might just have, like you said, kind of an aside where they talk about HomePod, like here's a couple features coming.
yeah.
Well, the HomePod debacle was so bad that it almost feels like it would be embarrassing. It's like, oh, we have all these features in here that you wanted when we first released it. Yeah. Anyway, that's.
But this is their like big holiday lineups. You know,
It's
this is
true.
the unveiling of their big holiday thing, and they want for it to be completely absent from the thing. I think would be a really bad sign. That would be like a real sign of no confidence, right, from Apple.
I could see maybe a price reduction down to like
Yeah.
what, $359? Is it $399 now?
It's $349
Or $349 now?
It's $349.
Yeah, it's $350 now.
It's
Usually you see
$359.
it selling for $300 these
So like
days.
300.
Yeah.
You know, I could see them doing that, but that's not something they would tout on stage because it's not a big
No.
price reduction. They would just
Yeah.
show up on the site.
But I can see them going, with, when they talk about iOS 12 in passing and all the great
Right.
things, they remind us of all the great things. And they could say, and with your HomePod, it gives you multiple timers and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
and then they'll quickly in passing say, and it's only $299 now or something,
Yeah.
I don't expect big HomePod stuff at
Yeah.
the,
They want that thing off the stage ASAP.
yeah, it's like they want to go, we still care about this and think it's a good product and you should buy one. Now moving on.
Moving on to Apple Watch.
So it's the first thing. Yeah, they open with it. In other words,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-show.
So we talked about what we thought about Mac announcements, that we don't think there's going to be any, and if they do plan to do Mac announcements, it'll be later in the year. So, what would be funny is if they did one of these, like they did with the original Mac Pro, say, "Hey, this is one more thing. This is what we're working on," and did a preview. So,
Well, I don't think they do it as a one more thing because those are big
really cool,
reveals
right? They
of-
tend to be
for
yeah.
stuff they're ready to sell, like.
So
Apple Car.
yeah,
But they didn't even do the iMac Pro. Wasn't even a one more thing, was it?
I don't think so. I think
no,
it just kinda-
that was
yeah.
at the
And that
top
was
of the. That was at the
6
top of
months
the
ahead.
event. That was at Was that WWDC?
That was at WWDC, and then they said, but it's shipping at the end of the year.
Right.
Like, so even when they were 6 months ahead like that, they didn't do a one more thing. I think that's going to be a big deal for them, and they're not going to stick it in with the new iPhone event.
Yeah, it's too many things. Yeah.
They want it to grab more spotlight than that.
Right. So, so we probably won't see any new Macs at this event.
there's a comment on Twitter. What about Apple TV from Brace Day? Because
So-
that was at last year's September event.
This is when they do them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get something about their TV program. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been the rumor that Apple's going to do a video streaming service. So the question is it ready to be unveiled this year? And,
Taking a lot out of Eddie Q.
so we'll see.
Yeah. That's one of those. I mean, we hear all this stuff about all these programs they're producing because the casting agents and all that other stuff, their stuff gets revealed. So we know who's starring in them and directing them, even though Apple hasn't announced any of them. And yeah, that's to stick that in this event. Like, that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a
Right.
lot of new stuff. And I don't think they're ready yet. Like, I don't think they're far enough along in production to have, you need a sizzle reel of all the cool
Right.
shows. And I don't think they're that far along. But Apple TV hardware, it's possible, but I don't think, like, you look at the Apple TV 4K, there's nothing it needs.
Right. Yeah.
They're not.
What about it needs to be upgraded? And
It's fine.
Exactly. It's already one of the most expensive and fully featured sort of streaming boxes out there. I don't know where they go from there, except for dropping the price. I don't really see what they need to do in terms of new hardware.
they could unveil the Apple TV that Gene Munster was always
Yeah, the actual TV set.
right.
They were convinced Apple
That
was
Gene
making.
Munster was convinced was going to happen.
It's going to be
Yeah.
round.
So-
No.
Or the 8K version.
Is 8K a
Yeah.
thing?
There's 8K TV
It
shipping
I know
this
there's
year.
8K TV, but has that really caught on?
It
No.
will eventually, but it hasn't.
I mean, not
first
everyone even has 4K
TVs are
TVs
shipping
yet.
Right.
this fall. The first 8K TVs that you
Yeah.
can buy are not even out yet, but coming this fall. And there's no content. Like nothing
Right.
is being
Exactly. Yeah.
made in 8K. And you need a really big TV for 8K to matter.
Probably Chris Nolan movies will be like the first 8K stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
be crazy. That's a ways away.
What do you guys think the stock of Apple, the market cap will be for Apple?
After next week.
Yeah.
They go down.
Amazon caught
Yeah,
up.
they always go
They,
down. Yeah.
they always go down
Ah.
right after the announcements because they
Yeah.
kind of preload all this hype for all these rumored products that kind of goes high, and then they announce them, and then it goes down a little
And
bit.
then people
Yeah.
go not innovative enough, and then they change their mind about 2 weeks later, and it goes back up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go on sale, and they sell 5 million iPhones in 24 hours, and everything. The stock goes back up.
Right.
All right.
So we'll probably get. There'll probably be a mention of macOS Mojave and iOS 12 during this event. And they'll probably mention release dates because I'm sure the new phones will have iOS 12 on it.
Mhm.
So they'll probably mention release dates, and they'll probably do a brief, short overview of what to expect from each one. The ones that we've already seen, even shorter summaries of what the new features are or the key new features are, and then they'll probably announce release dates for those.
So, what do we think the timing is for that? Is it the events on Wednesday? Pre-orders for the new devices will start probably Friday.
Yeah.
I
Friday
think they'll
midnight.
release iOS 12 on Wednesday.
Do you think they'll release it at the event, or
Yeah.
is the following week?
I'd say the event.
I think what they've
Okay.
done in the past is in the past, yeah, they follow the following Friday after the event has usually been the pre-order day.
Mhm.
And then I think they usually release the iOSs a few days before product ships.
Hmm.
Right. So it's either the following week or the week after that, and then the product will ship in the last week of September. Is
Yeah, the
what
product
we think
usually
will
ships at the
probably-
last week of September. And so usually, if I remember correctly, iOS and macOS, the new versions get released a few days before the product starts shipping.
Yeah.
So it's possible that
Sometimes
last week
not
is-
macOS. Sometimes macOS.
Sometimes
is
not
a couple
macOS,
weeks
right?
behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
We've seen that with the
seems pretty
betas.
stable
We've
now.
seen the betas be sometimes a little bit behind on macOS.
Yeah. So that last week of September is going to be a busy week.
Yeah, that's when everybody gets their products.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Wake me up when September ends.
AR glasses. Do you think we're going to see AR glasses this
No.
Not for 2 years.
at least 2 years? So
Not till at least 2020.
They're going to have to look really good, especially if they come from Apple, because that's nah.
And no one wants them.
and nobody wants them.
You have, well, that's the trick, is
Well,
to make them to where
yeah.
you want them. But
It's supposed to be the first one that you'll want, so they really need to make it. It needs to be really compelling.
Yeah.
it's got to look like Ray-Bans, man.
Yeah, it can't be
It's-
just barely better than HoloLens and Magic Leap. It needs to make those look like prototypes, and this is the real AR product that people will want.
yeah,
Like it needs. That's what that's what it's going to have to be, and I think that they're still
no.
a ways away.
And finally, how about an Apple car?
Yeah, they're totally.
That's
you're
the one
gonna-
last thing. One more.
Someone
thing.
read your
It's-
mind because they said that on
It says
Twitter.
gather round, and it has a picture. It's a circle.
The tire.
You know,
So
be
clear.
fu-
It's a tire or steering wheel. Like that's clearly we're gonna all show up. There will
Right.
be no new iPhones. It's all been a hoax.
the
and it's
event
gonna be
is
all
only
about
about the car.
Could
Yeah.
also interpret it as a racetrack.
So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, what would be funny is if, because Apple's been using Lexus SUVs as their test vehicles for their technology, whatever they're doing to create a self-driving car, and it was recently reported that one was in a little fender bender.
Yes.
Um,
It was not their. It was
not the car's fault.
yeah.
But what would be funny is if they said, "Here's the Apple car," and they brought out the Lexus, but they had put like Apple logos over the Lexus logos.
Oh god.
Just
It
as
has all that. Stuff
and it just
on
drives
top.
by.
Like it has all that big, huge array of sensors
Right.
and crap
On
on
top
top.
of
And that big, ugly thing. Like it's done.
Yes, there it is. That's what it is. So
I'm against that whole thing.
you can make your own car a drivable, self-driving car by adding this on top of yours.
Well, see, I remember when they first started talking about that, people were saying that could be Apple's contribution. It would be some way to make any car a self-driving car, and which they get some pretty science fiction stuff there. But
Yeah,
it's,
that's not really
yeah,
how cars work.
I know, but
Not with any like actual Department of Transportation like say on that.
There's that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have some breaking news.
oh boy,
Uh-oh.
9 to 5 Mac is reporting that
it's
the
lame.
I wish I had a sound effect for that.
of the
You know,
We need to get
breaking
some sound effects for
news.
this. We totally do.
this just in. 9 to 5 Mac is reporting that the supersized iPhone XS is going to be called the iPhone XS Max.
Oh. So not
XX to
plus.
the max, man.
XS Max. That's terrible.
So
Just-
now I'm almost convinced it
or
is
tennis
somebody.
Max. It's terrible any way you do it.
They're totally trolling.
So it does feel like somebody saying, "Okay, we got to find another leaker. We'll tell them it's going to be we'll announce that it's the Max, and then we'll see who leaks that."
I don't remember what the issue was. Why they were like, we can't call it the Plus again. There was some reason.
Was there a trademark
Maybe-
issue, or
No, maybe it's because the cheaper model is bigger than the 5.8,
That's good.
so they don't
Oh,
want to confuse that or
right.
something. I don't know. Yeah, Max does make it sound like it's going to cost a lot.
Yes, XX Max. Yeah.
so this is probably nobody will understand what I'm about to say, but
Maximum.
in a
access.
past life, I worked at Mac Addict magazine, and Mac Addict used to have a mascot called Max, and Max was very popular with the readers. So any longtime Mac Addict readers are going to love that Max name. But I was going to ask, what are the proposed names for that 5.8-inch iPhone? Has there been any? That they're not going to call that the 9, are they?
See, I've
Oh, you
seen
mean
people.
you mean the LCD one?
Yeah, the LCD
6.1
phone.
inch?
Yes.
That's the 6.1 inch. Okay. Yeah.
seen
Oh,
people
six
say the
point, right,
iPhone
you're right.
9.
I'm sorry, 6.1 inch. Yeah,
Some people say the 9. Yeah. Some people say
Okay.
just the iPhone.
just the iPhone. Yeah.
I don't know.
All
It
right, we
feels
had
weird
this
to call it the
discussion.
9.
Yeah,
had
we
the
did.
naming discussion.
It feels weird to call it the 9 because if it has the A12 in it, it'll be faster and better in some ways than the 10 that came out the year before. And, yeah. It's like some weird time travel looper thing going on here.
Yeah.
iPhone thrift.
Yeah. I don't know what they. And then where do you go from there? Where do you go when you already have a 10 and a 10S?
10S Max.
No, I don't know. That's got to be a troll.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the 5.8 is the iPhone 10s, and the 6.5 is just the iPhone Max,
Oh
and
my
not,
god.
which is confusing.
Yeah, it's
too,
all terrible.
Because it's the
It's all
features
terrible.
of it is all terrible. When a couple weeks ago when we went over like what we think our names should be, we were all doing a better job than.
Yeah.
Or what if it was iPhone Max S? But so M,
my
capital
God.
M, lower A,
Yeah.
capital X, lower S.
Okay, AZ and Roman.
So
Yeah.
yes.
90s throwback.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
Yes.
that just about does it for this week's episode of the Macworld Podcast, episode 620. I'd like
Yep.
to thank Jason on the remote. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Leif.
Max out.
I'd like to thank Dan, our producer.
Thank you. And when's the next episode?
The next episode will be next week on Thursday, September 13th
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. Pacific. So we'll be doing a recap of the event. The event is Wednesday,
The 12th.
the 12th, which is our usual podcast time. And obviously we won't be doing the podcast because of the event. And then we'll be spending the rest of the day wrapping up our coverage of the event. So we're going to do the podcast on Thursday instead. So
Busy day.
adjust your calendars appropriately, and we'll be talking about the event. So if you guys have any comments or questions about the event, be sure to tune in. We'll do our best to answer and react to your comments and questions.
Yeah.
So join us next week. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.